time in this 76-year history of that defensive military alliance. And when we look at that, it's not just that Russia crossed the border of a NATO country with attack drones. It's the fact that this is Poland. Poland is the centerpiece of the struggle for European freedom and dignity. And if you understand their story across history, there are emotional components to this that I think a lot of people may not understand. If you spent time in Warsaw or in that country as a whole, you see reminders of Russian terrorism, of Russian occupation, the same thing that's happening in Ukraine, and they're trying to do it again. There's some historical things I wanted to cross over and show you so you understand the significance not only of just the attack, but of Donald Trump's incredible failure as a president. This is no doubt attributable to the weakness of his presidency. Nothing is more dangerous than when the leading superpower has the weakest leader on the planet. That's why you had Israel attacking Qatar, one ally attacking another without warning, in a place where we have one of the largest airfields, one of the largest Air Force bases in the entire world. So let's get to it, learn a couple things, then we'll get to the specifics of the attack. So here you have after the Warsaw Uprising, when Russia and the Nazis invaded, wiped out the entire civilian population, and the people of Poland fought like lions. The city was completely destroyed, and there's reminders of that all over the place. This is what they faced. This is how they fought. And does this not look like many cities in eastern Ukraine, Bakhmut, and others? So, and then there's reminders everywhere you go across Warsaw. This is the Warsaw Uprising Monument. In addition, remember, it's not just fighting back against the Russians and tyranny. It is where the Holocaust started, in the Warsaw Ghetto. This is a monument to the heroes of the Warsaw Ghetto. And what is it like to walk through Warsaw? You see, as you're walking down the street, there's a plaque. You're now entering the Warsaw Ghetto. You see a statue where someone who got, died in the cause of freedom. Or you see, a safe house. Or you hear in the news that they found machine guns or, the remains of somebody from the Polish resistance. This is constant reminders. You cannot walk around inside this city without obtaining an understanding, and you feel it. It's a vibe. It's incredible. Now, I went to and from Poland a lot and stayed in Warsaw a lot as I was going in and out of Ukraine and the Ukrainian armed forces. So it is unmistakable that when you're in Ukraine and you feel that power of God pulling you to stand up for those people, you feel the same thing in Warsaw. What they went through, it's the same evil. It's the same country doing the evil, Russia. When we talk about the Warsaw Uprising, World War II, also critically important to the history of Europe is what happened after that, and that is the fight against the Soviet Union and the collapse of the Iron Curtain and Poland's role in that. Poland was the first country to really stand up to the Soviet Union. They led the 1987 revolution that collapsed everything and liberated, hundreds of millions of people across Eastern Europe and the Baltic states. And one of the people that was instrumental in that is Pope John Paul II. This is in Gdansk. This is a shipyard city. There are more people at this rally where Pope John Paul, who's also Polish, 500,000 people, more than the city, and this is where the Solidarity movement, which was a trade union movement, started. That was the first cracks in the foundation of the Soviet Union and Russia, and again, this is where it all started. Now next, after we see him, who's another person that's instrumental in this? You see all these characters tied together in history, and you understand what's at stake and what Donald Trump is risking with his weakness. Listen to these words. This is Ronald Reagan talking about Poland, and tell me it doesn't apply universally across time to what's happening in Ukraine now, and just the struggle for the heart of mankind everywhere.
Someone has said that when anyone is denied freedom, then freedom for everyone is threatened. The struggle in the world today for the hearts and minds of mankind is based on one simple question: is man born to be free or slave? In country after country, people have long known the answer to that question. We are free by divine right. We are the masters of our fate, and we create governments for our convenience. Those who would have it otherwise commit a crime and a sin against God and man.
That's exactly what they're fighting for in Ukraine, a fundamental concept. And I believe actually this idea was taken from a Martin Luther King sermon that's not well known. Fundamentally American, fundamentally true for all man. Now, let's get to the specifics of what happened yesterday. We'll try to get through this relatively quick because there's not a ton of information out there, but there's some important points we need to touch. All right, so we've got the background for this is that there's the Zapad 2025 exercises happening, military exercises with Belarus and Russia in Belarus. Now recall that the military buildup on the border with Ukraine prior to the February 2022 invasion was, Russia said that, oh, that's just military exercises. So Poland sees that and they understand they have to mobilize. So that is the context. And also, fake military exercises are a great cover to launch operations, especially ones that are a little ambiguous at first and aren't a complete invasion, but look like some kind of hybrid warfare, gray zone attack. So, and that's why actually Poland shut the border. And of course, Belarus and Russia complains about the border being shut when the last time they had a buildup, they invaded another country and genocided, thousands and thousands of people. And here's the buildup from, again, these are artillery pieces, self-propelled howitzers heading from the Polish army to the border. They know who they're dealing with. And so we talked about the history of the past, and imagine that you're someone who either served in World War II, one of the few people that survived in the Polish army or the Polish resistance, or someone who lived through, communism and saw the Iron Curtain fall in the late 1987. And then you hear this overhead. When I heard this last night, the time I spent in Poland and understanding historically what it means, the fact that there are jet engines of fighter aircraft intercepting a Russian attack, it's intense. It's intense if you understand the history. And then to see this, from the military operations center, we emphasize that the military operation is ongoing. We urge people to stay at home. We are trying to basically meet and destroy Russian attack drone-like objects. You're at war. That's what that means. And I can't imagine what that felt like for the people of Poland, especially those that have lived through, the history that we've discussed. Now, this is the attack. It's approximately 19 drones. Most of them appear to be reconnaissance drones, but there's a building I'll show you here in a minute. It's not entirely clear whether it had a warhead or not, but this full delineation of what was sent in of those 19 drones is not clear. So there's another image. And of course, that's the top left corner of this attack. And it's just wild to think, as a sidebar, that this got so much publicity, and but that's like a tiny amount compared to what Ukraine goes through every single night. And again, you see this last night, and it's like, wait, they're attacking Poland? This is insane. Another thing, when you're in Warsaw, you're like 500-600 miles away from the border. It feels like you're in a completely safe world. You could be in America for all you know, right? I mean, and I never thought that Warsaw would be put at risk by Russia. Should have known. Warsaw, Lublin, Resau, and Modlin Airport were all closed. And again, imagine living in Poland. Your war's next door, but you've never been attacked. You don't expect it. And these airports were closed down, not available due to unplanned military-related activity related to ensuring state security. 500 miles from Ukraine. Just insane. Shelter-in-place order because of Russian aggression in the entire eastern third of the country. And again, you see this. Aircraft have used weapons against hostile objects. This is war. They're attacking. We're responding. It's real. It's happening. Okay, this is a house. Again, this could be fuel exploding on a drone without a warhead. It could be a warhead. Unclear. But regardless, either way, if someone had been in that house, had been upstairs, they would have been killed. It's a miracle they weren't. That's the inside. And again, by the way, this looks exactly like most of the houses in eastern Ukraine. That same brick, that's the same windows, same structure. This is inside. Could be anywhere in Ukraine right now. And this is Donald Tusk. The situation brings us the closest we have been to open conflict since World War II. This is where they found some of the drones, and some of them have been in fields, some of them have been in the road. This one was on top of a rabbit cage. I guess, Russia finds rabbits very militarily threatening, I guess. Another one. And of course, the Russians think it's funny. They're mocking Donald Trump. Make no mistake about it. This is this idiot fighter bomber. He's a Russian blogger, talks about the war a lot. I'm not going to read it out loud, but you can get the drift. And finally, we're getting to some of the reactions. Statement by the High Representative on behalf of the EU. They don't call it war, but it is under international law and the laws of armed conflict. This was an act of war. Poland and NATO could respond with strikes on Russia, be perfectly legal. And it says we will raise the cost for Moscow, second to last paragraph, by ramping up sanctions significantly on Russia and its enablers. I doubt Donald Trump will do that. We will also work with our international partners to put pressure on Russia to end this war. That must be in America. Good luck. We express our full solidarity with Poland and are continuing to offer the support that Poland needs in protecting its eastern border. We're in constant contact with the Polish authorities. And again, there's no question that this was intentional. Sometimes Russia tries to play it off when 1 or 2 drones comes in. This was 19 drones. It's intentional. These are precision-guided weapons. Anybody says it's not, it's just pushing Russian disinformation. All right, so let's listen to the Russian foreign minister. Listen to what he says. He talks here about what their response is going to be, and I'll explain what he means when he says Article 4. But after that, there's another clip where he talks about what Donald Trump has failed to do that has led to this point, the chain of events, and that progression is very important.
Article 4, which provides for joint consultations between NATO allies, quote, whenever, in the opinion of any of them, the territorial integrity, political independence, or security of any of the parties is threatened, end quote. We believe Russian provocations call for further strengthening of NATO's eastern flank. Second, a representative of the Embassy of the Russian Federation was summoned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and presented with a protest note. I am aware that Russia claims there is no evidence these were Russian drones, even suggesting a Ukrainian provocation. This was anticipated. Lies and denials are default.
Lies and denials are default Soviet responses because the Soviet Union and Russia are the same. Remember, Vladimir Putin gave a medal of Vladimir Lenin, okay, a Soviet-era medal to the parents, to Steve Witkoff to give to the CIA agent who's the parent of that Michael Glass, I think his name is, the guy who joined the Russian army to go commit war crimes in Ukraine. He got waxed immediately, okay? Russia today is giving Soviet-era medals to war criminals to reward them. So this is 100% accurate to say that Russia...
Soviet responses. The Kremlin is again mocking.
The Kremlin is again mocking President Trump's peace efforts. That's exactly right. When Poland, like your closest ally, I mean, you like won the Cold War with, is saying that they're mocking you, I mean, that is so embarrassing. God,
President Trump.
It's sick. It's like the weakness of Donald Trump is like washing off on all Americans.
Trump's peace efforts.
Okay, here he goes through the foreign minister, same guy. The progression of events that led to the first attack by Russia on a NATO country. I mean, this is like, again, this is like, how screwed up have we come in 8 months where this unthinkable act has taken place? Well, he explained.
Na Alasce mieliśmy zamiast zawieszenia broni intensyfikację rosyjskich ataków na Ukrainę, a to, co się działo nad polskim niebem ostatniej nocy, jest odpryskiem tej wzmożonej ofensywy przeciwko Ukrainie. Od tego czasu mieliśmy też spotkanie tych autorytarnych.
So remember, this chain of events, this disastrous meeting in Alaska, then Trump putting 50% tariffs on India, claiming it was because they buy Russian oil. But he won't put pressure on all these other people that buy Russian oil, like China. He won't do anything about China supplying missile guidance parts to Russia to kill kids all the time in Ukraine. And it turned out, came out in several well-sourced media reports that, in fact, Trump used the buying Russian oil, this noble cause that he said was the reason why he was putting tariffs, a 50% tariff on Indian goods. It was because India wouldn't recommend him for a Nobel Peace Prize that he absolutely did not deserve. Pakistan would. They bent the knee to Trump, saying that, he helped end this Pakistan-India conflict, which is a complete lie. Well, Trump tried to pressure Modi, the Prime Minister of India, to do the same thing. He said, I'm not doing that. You had nothing to do with this, this conflict ending. And that made Trump mad. So then he lied. He didn't just put tariffs on him or pressure on him. He hid behind dead Ukrainian children and said that they were the reason, buying Russian oil is why he's putting tariffs. I mean, think about how sick and demented.
Mocarstw.
And that pushed India away from the United States into China's arms. And then China, India, and Russia just had this grand military parade, and they were together. And that was a direct signal to Donald Trump. He recognized it. He saw it. Sent out a very childish tweet in response. But again,
w Pekinie.
Not only did you fail to split Russia and China, you pushed India into the mix. Now they're together, all of them. I mean, like, you couldn't script this work.
Mieliśmy wizytę
Again, the Polish president, Karol Nawrocki, was just in Washington. Diplomacy is a combination of complex signaling and events and everything that's happening. Not with Donald Trump, because they're like, monkeys in a cage, that administration. But when you're dealing with someone like the Russians, they're being relatively sophisticated with how they signal things, how they do things, and for maximum embarrassment of.
prezydenta
Remember, every time Trump asks for a ceasefire from Russia, they follow up, they respond with the biggest bombardment of the war, just knowing that he won't do anything whatsoever. I don't know why. Is it because he's compromised? Who knows?
Polski Karola Nawrockiego.
Would be the best, most rational explanation. So what was Donald Trump's response? Okay, so you see where we're going with everything, and now you see Donald Trump's response, okay? Like, Poland is calling us out. What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go, exclamation point. What the hell does that even mean? And I think that's the only thing he's even said so far. Is this a question? Is it a statement? Is it excitement? Is it a threat? Nobody knows. I mean, this is like so ridiculous. It should be like a mortifying event, like, holy crap, I need to like pull back and, something bad happened. I need to really think about this. But no, he says, Russia's violating Poland's airspace with drones. It's like it's a joke. I don't know. Is he drunk? I mean, he doesn't drink, but he's acting like he's drunk. It's ridiculous. It's totally insane. Now you have the U.S. ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker. Again, a lot of people didn't like him for this job. Again, you're in the Trump administration. It's a bunch of monkeys, so he's a pretty good monkey amongst the primates. We stand by our NATO allies in the face of these airspace violations and will defend every inch of NATO territory. Now, again, does that mean passively defend and let them just continue to attack without punishing them in response and hitting the areas where these drones and missiles or wherever it is comes from? Not clear, but that is a good statement. If Trump had said that, I would compliment him on that. But I don't know. Is this official U.S. policy? Is this what Donald Trump thinks? Did Rubio tell him? I don't know. It's so disorganized. We have no idea what the actual policy is. Okay, so let's talk about Article 4, because that's one of the things that the Polish foreign minister mentioned. What does that mean? Well, it means that they're going to have consultations together, and they're going to figure out what to do. It's like calling an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. It's like an incremental step, like passing a note to the Russian, embassy in protest. Nothing really concrete, nothing really big. And here you have Michael Weiss. If you don't follow him, he's a great writer on these national security issues. And he, again, talks about Turkey invoked Article 4 3 times over Syrian air and artillery shells. And he goes through the history. Poland invoked it in 2014 after Russia's first invasion of Crimea. And this basically went nowhere. So we'll see what happens. This is, I think, fundamentally, it's going to depend a lot upon what Donald Trump says. But Europe needs to recognize, like, this is probably, I believe, a sea change event. An attack on a NATO, again, the first time in 76 years. Think about, we've had some bad presidents in that time. None of them were so terrible as to get Russia to actually attack a NATO country. Unbelievable. I mean, we're in such dangerous times. We were so close to an open conflict between NATO and other countries. Fully arm Ukraine. Give them Tomahawk missiles. Let them hit where these drones come from. There's so many things we can do, but mainly give Ukraine everything it needs, all of the technology, all of the weapons they ask for, and put real sanctions on Russia. I mean, it's been there an opportunity to take out Russia and collapse that regime and make that country a failed state, which is the only thing that will ever change their behavior, okay? No more talks about inviting them back to the international community. No more J.D. Vance saying, well, they have minerals, that's important. Who cares? They must be crushed, destroyed, like a house, ripped down to the studs, and then they can rebuild inch by inch, board by board, window pane by window pane, wallpaper by wallpaper. Anything less, they're never going to change. They must suffer. It's just a fact. Like a forest fire, you got to burn it down so you can regrow. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll follow these events as they keep going. I appreciate you. Like, subscribe. Take care.